Hi, and welcome to the Web Design Tools tutorial. Today I want to talk you through how to customize your website to make it look more like your own and like your website that you may have already. There are a few tools that we have integrated that can get you up and running quickly to create beautiful custom sites like this one for the demo site we have here. We have many options with adding side panels to modifying colors to modifying the way the footer looks, as well as many other options for customization. We're going to make this site today. Up at the top right, you'll see the mini browser icon. If you hover over it, it says Public Display Settings. Click on this and go to the Web Design Tools. You can watch this video if you'd like, or feel free to close it out and watch it later or minify it, which will shrink it down into the corner. Up at the top, you'll see the option for AI theming, which will allow you to personalize your site by uploading your logo or a color palette that you might enjoy. For example, let's just try this one here. It's a beautiful image of the Dolomites, some beautiful cliffs, and we will see what colors it pulls. As you can see, it took the colors of the mountains and applied it to the background. Now that's not what we want today because that's not our logo. I've updated the logo here with Thunder Theater, but let me walk you through how you would get to this place. Let's start by identifying parts of the screen. On the side panel, you'll see an accordion designated by location within the platform, general styles, top navigation, event box, and so on. Then you can see this option here to select a preview. We have many different views that will allow you to look at different parts of the web application and preview them. Let's go back to Event List. In the header styles, you will see the option to upload your logo. As you can see, I've uploaded the Thunder Theater logo here, and I've placed it on the left. There are many other options you can place it in as well, but for now, let's go back and change the colors just to get it back to where we were. You'll tap on this color here to change the color. Notice this little eyedropper tool. If you have a custom color you want to pull directly from your logo, feel free to tap it and it will show up. For simplicity, I'm going to stick with white and keep my text content color black. We suggest you keep your colors for text very contrasted from your background, so white and black or blue and white, depending on the shade of blue. Then we will select our content text. As you can see, you're able to preview the type of font that you're looking at before clicking on it. This is helpful if you have a logo with text in it, so you can match your text or use something that complements it nicely. Try not to pick script fonts like this, which make it hard to read. We're going to be using the Actor font for today, and there are options on how to justify your font. This is going to be the main body text font, so you'll be able to see it here within the events, as well as on any of the pages that show a single event. You can see that it's justified, as opposed to right or left. There are also options to capitalize and lowercase the text. While not very useful in the body text, it can be helpful in different areas of the application. Now, back to the header. As you can see, we have the height of 100 pixels. We allow a height up to 150 if you'd like a larger logo. Then we have the option to keep the header on the top at scroll or hide on scroll. I'll show you how that works. This is the hide on scroll option. This is more useful if you're planning to embed your website into an iframe. But if you'd like to customize and keep the ThunderTix site as your main website, we suggest keeping the header on the top. That will allow your menu options to always remain visible for users. A couple of other things to note. In the top nav, we currently have all of our buttons justified to the right in the top of the page. We also have the option to place them in the main content and center our logo. When we are allowing the keep at top for the scroll, the logo will disappear and we'll be left with the menu options that will always remain at the top. Now, on to a couple of other things in the top nav options. We have other styles of buttons as well. For instance, you can select circle icons if you prefer a more rounded appearance, and then you can modify the colors that go with it. So if you want to select your tool tip and select maybe this darker yellow color, now we have yellow icons. One tip is if you are not fond of outlines like we have here or borders, feel free to match your background exactly and then it will disappear entirely. And then you're left with the simple icons. We can also modify the space between the icons themselves. We've moved them to the right here, or space around them, which will put space between each one evenly. If you click space between, it will do something similar, but it makes it more obvious on a tinier screen. We can also modify the text size. Our suggestion is to keep headers above 16 pixels and body text above 14 for legibility and accessibility reasons. Now, let's go back to the events listing. We can look at our event box styles. These are going to be these styles here. So currently I have it set to a white background. Let's say we want to add a little bit more color in. We can actually pull from the images as well. This isn't necessarily a color I would suggest, but I would like to show you what it would look like. Now, if we're going to keep a dark color like that, we would suggest changing the body text to a light color for legibility. Let's go ahead and grab something a bit lighter. For instance, this color here. We also have the option to customize the image background color. That will be the panels that space the images evenly within the area. So if you'd like to try a different color, feel free to tap around and see what it looks like. Now we have that yellow color on all of the spots that were white. I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the white section, but I will keep this here. I might just lighten it a little bit to keep the contrast going. We also have options for event titles. As you can see, I've matched the font family to Actor, which we'd selected earlier, but if you'd like to add a little bit more stylization, feel free to pick a different font, such as this. Again, for titles, keep them above 16, and for the body text, let's try to keep it above 12 with maybe a size 14, and that will make it a little bit easier to read. We also can align our boxes in different ways. For instance, here's a left aligned. I prefer center alignment. In the event description, I mentioned earlier, I selected justify, but we also have the option to center and left align and right align as well, which will give us a little bit more space on the edges for center. I tend to like justified font for the event listing page. I think it looks very nice and even and readable. Now the sell button styles. These are going to be our buy tickets buttons here at the bottom. So I can show you, I created the black background, but if we wanted to make it a little brighter, you could do something like a yellow background. It's bright and very visible. The hover background is the only thing that doesn't display in our previewer, but it's the color that this background becomes when a user hovers over the ticket. This currently is selected as a brown color. What I like to suggest is taking your current color that you already have it set to and either darkening it a little by dropping it towards this black color or lightening it a little towards the white color, so that whenever a user hovers over it, they're aware there's been a slight change. And I'll go ahead and save this so that you can see what I mean. See? It's very nice and easy to read. Now, back to where we were. I like to increase my spacing between the letters on the buy tickets just to keep it looking large and attention grabbing. But if you wanted to see what it looked like before with no spacing, it's much more compact. Let's go ahead and put that back to 5. I've also selected uppercase. You can keep it back to the default, but I tend to like the big attention grabbing calls to action. Now, I am going to go back to the event box and change it back to white just because I prefer that a little bit more. Okay, now I do want to show you the continue shopping button styles as well. If you go to the checkout page, I believe, you'll see this continue shopping button here. Now that we've changed the button styles everywhere else, I'd like to make it match the way I have it on other pages. So I'm going to go back to that event list and use my dropper to grab that yellow, and I can either go back and look at the sell button to grab the exact hover color, or you can guess a little bit, but I suggest keeping it matching. And the border color is still set to black. I like this one to have the same color border, so I'm going to keep it as yellow. And now let's go check to see what it looks like. Checkout page. And now you can see it matches what we had. There's also different options for alignment in the button itself and the button size. This just modifies the padding, and this can be helpful if you're embedding your ThunderTix site on your website and the rest of the buttons in your site have less padding, then you might select something like small or medium just to match the size of the buttons themselves. You can also change the border thickness. You can even set all the way down to 0, which will make it really small. Okay. One thing I didn't touch on is the corner roundedness. You'll see it in a few places around the settings. That is what makes those corners rounded. So for instance, if I set it to 15, it will be very round. Let's see. As you can see here. And we can even modify it on the event list page and make the event squares themselves very round, which show up a little bit more if I give it a little bit of shading, you can see. So that made it much more round, but you can even make it circle if you want. I wouldn't suggest going too round because then cutting into some of your images a little bit, but that's our very rounded version. You can also modify your buttons on this page to increase the roundedness here. And then you have a very round and happy looking website. And then there are also options to add an image to the footer or change some of the links. I have the business address as well as the URL that I'd like to refer people to down at the bottom. We also have our checkout page styles, which modify the colors of the dots on the checkout itself, which are located, oh, sorry, not here, on the general admission checkout page. And that modifies the colors of our start and finish dots as well. As you might have noticed in this version, we are demoing a banner that is currently not available to the public, but we will be soon introducing the option to add a promotional banner in the site that shows up on all of the pages, I believe except for checkout, the final page of checkout. But you can see here on the event packages, it will continue to show. Right now, I've designed this purely in CSS, which you will have the option to add your custom CSS here as well. And I tend to guide people away from custom CSS because it can be a little overwhelming if you're not used to working with it yourself. But if you're comfortable, or you have a web designer, or you use AI tooling, then feel free to play around and modify some things that we haven't given explicit control over here on the left side menu. But I did want to touch on a couple of things that we have coming up in the future. As I mentioned earlier, we will soon have this banner and customization and the ability to add a video, promotional video here. But we also will be allowing personalized branding of the URL itself. So if your site currently, it would go to upgrade for tickets.thundertheater.com, which pulls out the branding of ThunderTix and makes everything look like it lives all under one roof and really take ownership of your site and make it look just like your own. Thank you for watching with me today. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something new from this. If you have any questions, feel free to open a support request or open a chat with Bolt to find out any of the information that you might be missing. I will see you again soon. Thank you.